All right, guys, welcome back to another episode with the Dream Builders podcast. I'm back here with Randy. Randy, welcome back.
Glad to be here.
I want to pick up off of something we were kind of talking about in another episode, and it was like how people struggle to visualize the scale of a space, before furniture's in. We talked about staging when our houses were empty versus had photos. I want to talk about how technology, what kind of technology you're incorporating to help these people visualize these things early on.
Yeah, I think that's a really big part of what we do. I think one of the things that we preach with the Sapphire difference is the design and build being under one roof and coordinated. So nowadays, even from the second meeting, we have 3D visuals of what this home is going to look like. We're doing our architectural design in 3D. We're building models of the home. So and we're rendering these things with actual materials. Now, are they perfect, exact?
Right.
No, but they're very close, and it gives the clients a really good understanding of what the home is going to look like from a very early conceptual stage.
Sure.
I think one of the things that clients come to us for is our architectural style, what the homes will look like from the outside. So we do have a heavy focus on that. I would say we don't have one particular style that's a definitive, modern or European or French. But there's kind of a signature to all of our homes. But we definitely are all in on 3D visualization in the way we present. From early on, from architectural, the model of the home itself, model for size, and then right away, second meeting of interior design, we're presenting spaces fully rendered in 3D as well. Same goes for landscaping. We're designing the landscaping. We used to, not that long ago, used to be a 2D plan of your landscaping. It was colored, but there's no scale. How big is this bush? How big is this tree?
Right.
What are these layers of, stepping up to this and that? It's very hard to visualize that, especially for common people that aren't doing this every day.
Right.
But now in 3D, you can really get a good understanding. And we take it so far as recently we've been offering like virtual reality. Through your brother. He has a company that we could take our model, put into his program, put on a headset. You can actually walk through the space, or kind of like a Matterport where you can click through the space and look around it, whether it's virtually or on the screen. So we're really embracing that technology to help people design their home, visualize their home, and ultimately fall in love with their home.
Yeah, and I'm glad you brought that up with because I watched kind of how this went from like your 2D plans to the option to have a rendering. At some point, a lot of it became standard as part of the process, because most people, honestly, like you and I, maybe, I don't want to say take it for granted, but I can look at a set of blueprints and a plan and visualize what that looks like. A lot of people can't.
Oh, most people can't, I would say.
And scale is a whole other animal when you're looking at a blueprint. But now that you recently introduced like some of the full immersive walkthroughs, has anybody like made decisions based on that?
Very much so.
Okay.
I mean, things that I do take for granted, like I'm showing a staircase and there's a bridge going across from one side to the other. To me, it's clear. It's literally black and white. Then we show the client in 3D and they're like, whoa, what is this bridge doing here? We're like, well, that's how you get from one side of the home to the other on the second floor. Here's where it is on the second floor. They're like, we didn't think it was going to be whatever, this close, this big. We didn't even know it was going to be here. So it's been a very helpful tool, and we've redesigned spaces because of that, whether it's staircases or going from a 1-story ceiling to a 2-story ceiling and
Right.
things of the sort.
Now, bringing this in, I don't think was just purely born out of we want the latest and greatest, right? Like, were there situations in the past where people didn't see this stuff until it was built in front of them and it ended up becoming a whole ordeal?
Yeah, I mean, we've even had it where it was designed in 3D and then they saw it in front of them and it was still an ordeal.
Yeah.
I literally had one where so we design in 3D and then we have physical samples of those materials as well.
Yeah.
And we're looking at them simultaneously. So we are building this home, we tile this shower, this bath, and the client calls me. The bathroom looks nothing like it's supposed to. What's going on? Did they use the wrong tile? I'm like, did they mix a wrong pattern or what's going on?
Yeah.
It's like, no, it just looks all wrong. The colors are wrong. So, oh crap, we made a mistake. So I get there, and I pull up the rendering. I'm like, looks exactly like the rendering. He's like, no, it doesn't. So I literally put the rendering up. I was like, take a step back. I was like, what is the difference? Tell me what do you see differently?
Sure.
Well, it looks shinier in the rendering. I was like, sure, I could, it's also on an iPad.
Yeah.
And
Glass
we
screen.
looked at the physical sample. You saw the sample and how shiny or not shiny it was. But they weren't happy with it. We
Yeah.
ended up tearing down that tile. And so even with all that,
Right.
but to answer your question, yeah, it was born, like you mentioned, we started offering it as an option. Do you want a rendering of your home? It's kind of almost crazy to think that wasn't standard protocol, but we're talking
Right.
about years ago now, and the technology is advanced.
Yeah,
dramatically.
for sure.
Getting renderings done 10 years ago, they weren't even digitized.
Right.
Oftentimes, they were like
Hand drawn.
hand
Yeah.
colored and hand drawn. So we have had, many times where the client, you see samples, but a sample doesn't tell you the whole picture, right? You're
Right.
seeing, a 12 by 12 piece out of a 50 square foot slab, right?
Yeah.
We've gone as far as going to the actual showrooms and looking at that physical slab that's going of countertop or tile or hardwood. But that's cumbersome. It's a lot of time spent. And again, you're looking at it as a one item, not as a holistic picture of how does
Right.
it look with the flooring and the cabinetry and the lighting.
Is it light time of day?
Yeah,
Yeah.
all that plays a factor.
Yeah. Absolutely. Now, going back to what you said about like when renderings were like, hand sketched, hand drawn. I feel like at that time, people understood a lot better that this is a representation. But the more that rendering started becoming 3D and attempted to become photorealistic, did that open the door more to people like, this doesn't look exactly like it did in the rendering.
That was always my biggest fear.
Yeah.
That was always my biggest fear. Like, we're gonna design this thing in 3D. If the shade is off,
Yeah.
and again, you look at things on two different screens, right?
Right.
On your phone versus on your computer monitor versus on the TV that's being projected, it looks different.
Yeah.
Or two different monitors, it's gonna look different. The brightness and the settings, the color settings,
For
etc.
sure.
Imagine on a home, what direction is the sun coming from? Did it rain yesterday? Is it
Right.
gloomy? Is it cloudy? Is it winter? Is it summer? I'm talking about like an exterior of a home at the moment, but interior as well.
Yeah.
So yeah, that was what I was just telling you. That is, it's not shiny or it's too
Right.
shiny or
Yeah.
whatever. And it's very hard to get like 100% exact in renderings.
Sure.
They are representation. They give you a good idea of color, of texture, of scale,
Yeah.
of materials next to each other, but they're not 100% accurate.
Right.
Again, one of the hardest things to select on the home is if there's brick on the home is brick,
Sure.
because you're looking at a small sample and brick is oftentimes in a large
Yeah.
format. And then depending on what it's up against, is it up against some stone or stucco or siding? Or,
Sure.
what color the shingles are? Is the landscaping installed or not? Makes a huge difference.
Right.
If it rained a few days ago, brick is porous. It absorbs some of it.
Absorbs. Yep.
It changes color during the day. day and night, sunshine, not. So trying to capture that representation in a single image
It's tough.
is very hard.
Yeah,
And oftentimes the manufacturers of these products give us the actual 3D models,
sure.
and we utilize them so that we try to be as accurate as possible. But
Yeah,
even those,
right.
I don't know if everybody knows this, but you have a tile or a hardwood or a brick. Well, if they're not manufacturing it at the exact same time, they are not going to be exactly the same.
Right.
They're called runs. Right? If you have
Sure.
a brick run that was done in January versus a brick run done in March, they will be a shade or maybe two
Right.
different. Same with tile. Wallpaper is infamous. If you're not getting the exact same run,
Yeah, you're gonna see it.
you're going to see it because you're butting all against each other. There's going to be a tone differential. So imagine the actual manufacturers can't make them exactly the same every time. How are we expecting
Right.
a computer software to make it happen? So yeah, I would say that is a challenging piece. We do tell the clients, and it's specified, but they're making decisions based on what they see.
Right.
It's all they can do, right?
Right.
You can't fault the client if it actually does look substantially different
Yeah.
and they don't like it. What do you do?
And ironically enough, I think the computer can make it exactly the same every single time, but it's the difference between the perception that the computer is putting in somebody's head and then, what it looks like. Like I remember, like right now you mentioned that landscaping is pretty much standard, right? Like there's going to be some level of landscaping.
Right.
Me coming from the production builder world, I remember sod was included and there was no landscaping.
Well, that's even a bonus. A lot of builders don't even.
A lot of people don't even do that, but it made me experience something that I've never experienced before because I've got like this warm paint color in my house, and it all looked green because I have a ton of windows that was reflecting off the grass. There was nothing in my yard, and it tinted everything like green. And I knew that was happening, so I didn't freak out. But it's just like it's so many things, like you said, time of day, raining, landscaping, whatever's out there. So like how do you help, bridge that gap? Like is it like you try to tighten things with the rendering? Do you just explain to the clients that hey, there's going to be some differentiation? How do you kind of mitigate issues?
I mean, the renderings help tremendously.
Yeah.
Let's start with that. I mean, they're not perfect, but they give you a great representation of what this space is going to look like
Yeah.
and feel like. And then we have the samples, as I mentioned, and oftentimes we'll literally take those samples and walk outside.
Sure.
What it looks like under the lighting in my office might not be what it's going to look like in the lighting in your home or outside. So we look at it in daylight, laying it down versus standing it up.
Right.
That changes the shadow and the
Yeah.
perspective of that material. So we try our best to mitigate those things as best as possible. We explain to them that this is not perfect. It's intended to be a good representation. And sometimes, when the home is under construction and you're seeing it for the first time and it's the final version of itself, it also looks and feels different.
Right.
Never better, right? It's
Yeah.
always worse.
Right.
Because, you have cardboard
Expectation.
covering
Yeah.
things and things are not completed, and you have the cabinet but there's no countertop, or you have a countertop but there's no backsplash.
Yeah.
The lighting is not installed, etc. So people walk in and they see and they're like, this is not what I was expecting. And
Right.
oftentimes I have to remind them, we got to take a step back. It's not complete yet.
Right.
Let's look at the big picture and the overall picture.
That's an interesting point because I think every builder kind of has a different level of, how involved the client is on the job site and when they can pop in and whatnot. And correct me if I'm wrong, but I don't know that we restrict them. But, I remember, and I think you mentioned this in a previous episode, I walked into my home when it was framed. And, people think like when it's bare bones, it's going to be the biggest. That's the smallest my house has ever felt.
Yeah.
I felt like I can throw a rock and get to the other side of my house.
Yeah.
It's
a weird analogy,
yeah,
but okay.
I mean, like, like it felt, yeah, I guess it's a weird analogy, but it just felt like so short. I saw through everything.
Yeah, exactly.
Whereas like when the walls were there, I don't know if the brain kind of like it can't see, so you know, it has a perception there's more going on, but
Differentiates the spaces, and you feel like you're in an
exactly.
individual space rather than the whole.
Right, I'm sitting there, I'm like, "This is it?
Yeah.
This is all of it?"
I
Um,
remember vividly, just taking a step back. I was building a house for my sister and my brother-in-law, and the basement was poured, and it's a walkout, so we were able to walk around and walk in to the basement itself when it was poured. And he looks at me, he's like, "Where's the rest of it?" I was like, "What do you mean? This is a huge basement."
right?
He's like, "This feels tiny." And
Yeah.
I was like, "I know."
Yeah.
I was like, "I know where you're coming from, but trust me, it's gonna feel bigger."
Yeah.
And it is a big basement.
It is, I've been in it.
3,000 square feet of
Right.
basement space, right? So it's a very common feeling, or I don't want to say misunderstanding, but it's almost a misconception.
Right. Which is kinda weird to me, that an open concept feels bigger when you have all the spaces, but the ultimate open stripped down concept
Right.
feels the smallest. But again, you know, that just goes to, like, technology, renderings become part of the normal process. I wanna go back to before this was mainstream. So when you only had, you know, blueprints, like, how did you help these people visualize that this is this?
Yeah, it was definitely harder for sure. Like I mentioned, so we would do inspiration photos. We'd gather those from house.com was popular at the time, or
Yeah.
Pinterest. We get inspiration photos. We'd create a mood board. Then we would go to different stores. That
Yeah.
was a big thing at the time. We don't do that very much often anymore, but we'd go to the tile store, or 2 or 3 tile stores, and we'd spend hours there picking out tile. It's very overwhelming when you walk
Sure.
into a store and there's thousands of tile options. Like, where do you even begin? We'd go to the countertop store and the cabinet manufacturer, and et cetera, et cetera. So we'd have a box or a bag of all these samples with us, and we'd put them next to each other and
Yeah.
try to pick the different finishes and colors. But a lot of it was based on trust.
Sure.
They would either see a home that we recently built, or we photographed, and say, I like this.
Yeah.
Let's try to do something like that. I want to do something different in this space and that space, but overall the scheme, and we would have to. Um, a lot of clients have a fear of making decisions because there's
For sure.
finality to it, right? You don't want to
Exactly.
be tearing things out after they're installed, but it's a part of the process is you have to make decisions. So
Right.
instilling that confidence that they are making the right decision, that it is a good design,
Yeah.
and we're not just saying that just to say it, right?
Right.
I believe it, and if I don't, I tell them, I was like, this isn't my favorite, but if you love it, that's what matters.
Right.
My recommendation is X, Y, and Z. But if you don't, my taste isn't necessarily your taste, right?
Yeah.
If I'm leaning a little more modern, or you're leaning a little bit more warm or cool, or whatever it may be.
Sure.
Um, Again, it's an art.
Yeah, it goes back to what we said.
So helping them discover what their style is, sometimes they don't know,
Right.
sometimes they do. And then trying to work through a theme as we're going through selections, or that's from an interior design perspective.
Right.
From an architectural perspective, it's much more challenging because you're looking at a blueprint, a 2D
For
drawing
sure.
of a 3D space. Um, what we used to do oftentimes, we used to do an exercise where we would go to their current home and measure rooms, and so we can relate.
Yeah.
The new great room is 20 by 20. Yours right now is 16 by 17. So it's gonna be 3 feet more that way and 4 feet more
Right.
that way. Oh wow, that's bigger than I thought. Because oftentimes they tell me, let's make this room bigger. Let's make this room.
Right.
We don't need to make it bigger. This is actually a comfortable space, but if you want to, sure. But they can't comprehend the size. So we would do that. Or we'd go to some of my homes under construction or near completion. Um, we did Matterports. So a Matterport is like uh, almost a a digital 3D model where you
You
can
can
click
walk
through
through,
and
click
walk
through.
through, and
Yeah.
that would help give some visual recognition of spaces as well.
Yeah. And you know, as somebody who's worked with you for a long time, like I don't know that there's been like people that are catastrophically upset with the way certain things look, but you had told me something one time that's interesting. You know, it goes back to the emotional part of it. You know, it was I think I had asked you like, okay, now when you're getting these higher end, higher price point homes, is it easier because the people get it? And you said no, not necessarily because the problems or the the detail that which they're looking at, it's scaled up with the expectation. Like somebody might actually be looking at, I don't know, the height of something, some custom feature that nobody else would even look at because we're paying for it. We have this
Yeah,
expectation.
absolutely. Yeah, undoubtedly. The higher the level of the home, the more details there is in it oftentimes, and the more scrutiny there is behind it.
Yeah.
I mean, we've grown as a company as we're designing to be very conscientious of these things and to design them the right way, if
Yeah.
you will, from a scale perspective. You don't want 4-inch base molding on a, maybe you do, but generally speaking,
Yeah.
4-inch base molding on a 20-foot tall wall is just going to feel out of scale, right?
Sure.
So designing these things properly, some people would want it because it's more minimalistic or
Right.
modern. Uh, but knowing that, right? Knowing that different styles call for different things.
Yeah.
Crown molding was huge when I first started building homes. Then it kind of like
Right.
disappeared. Nobody wants crown molding.
Yeah.
It's actually coming back again now.
Yeah.
Like a lot of the traditional um, features and details are coming back. Not exactly the same, but
Right. Your
the
cove and
new
your
iteration. Yeah,
yeah.
archways where everybody wanted everything arched, then
Right.
everyone wanted everything square. Now
Now they
archways
want
are coming
archways
back.
again. Yeah.
So it's cyclical for sure.
Yeah.
But knowing your design styles, taking inspiration from tried and true architectural and design features from
Right.
things that were built hundreds of years ago in France or Italy or wherever it is, we get a lot of inspiration from that. Because
Yeah. Tried and true.
yeah, English romance style
Right.
or French country, French chateau. These are we take those original styles and we do a modern twist on them. Larger windows,
Right.
taller ceilings, things of the sort.
Yeah. And that's interesting that you mentioned that because you don't know what you don't know, right? So it's like somebody might have gone from 2.5 inch, I don't know, just saying, to 4-inch base molding in their house. They're like, any home that I go in the future, it's going to be 4-inch. But then, like you said, if it's a 20-foot tall wall, like, well, maybe now it should be 7-inch or some crazy number, that like scales. But without rendering and visualization, you can't really know that because it's not a direct parallel.
Yeah, I mean, our old process was challenging because we would make decisions as we were building the home.
Yeah.
What the technology has been able to allow us for is making decisions before we even build the home. So you
Yeah.
know exactly what the home's going to look like,
Right.
exactly what it's going to cost you before we even put a shovel in the ground.
Yeah.
Oftentimes that was very challenging before because it was hard to visualize the space, especially for the client. So we'd actually have to frame the space,
Right.
and then we're picking out what size moldings do we want because X, Y, and Z, the height and whatever. And the designer would want to actually field measure
Sure.
certain things. We still do some field measurement, but but that created a bottleneck, right? We couldn't get to point B
Right.
until we finished point A. Now, ideally, we're building the home all the way through without taking a step back or a
Right.
pause.
Would you say that technology has, like the renderings and the visualization, has had an impact on, let's call it decision fatigue? That you have all these decisions to make. Sometimes at the beginning, people feel like I have all this time. Then they get pushed against the clock. Then they get freaked out. Decision's final. They have remorse. Would you say that it helped that or didn't have an impact on it or made it worse?
I truly believe it's helped it dramatically. I mean, decision fatigue is still a real thing, especially when
Sure.
you're building a custom home. So we tailor our approach to our client. If the client is, and we've had clients that were very, they loved our homes, they loved our style, they
Yeah.
trusted us. They didn't want anything to do with design or picking things. That's not their forte, and they were super busy. So they'd be like, "I love this home. Let's make it look like that." And you know, we would show them option A, option B
Yeah.
for a room, and this one's included. This one, if you like this one better, is 10 grand or 50
Sure.
grand or whatever it may be. And in 2 meetings, we were able to get through all the selections. That's a very particular type of client. Other times, we've had clients literally quit their jobs
Yeah.
because they wanted to be so involved and they want to be involved in every intricate detail. Um, that's oftentimes most challenging.
Sure.
that's when there's real decision fatigue, because you're looking at hundreds of options and trying to dial in every step of the way.
Right.
With the 3D renderings now, you can see them, you can feel confident in the decision that you're making
Yeah.
a lot easier.
Sure.
Um, and I'll also say our process, we've refined our process numerous times. We continuously try to improve it
Yeah.
from the client's perspective, right? How do they understand what it's going to look like, what it's going to cost, how it's going to feel, and we've really refined our process a lot right now, where we have meetings for our normal process. For a normal client, we have particular meetings, and at this meeting, these are the things we're going to accomplish. This is the agenda. At this meeting, this is the agenda. We'll have a little bit of homework in between. Send
Yeah.
me inspiration photos, check this out, etc. And we have a good cadence to it, so it doesn't feel overwhelming
Right.
or rushed, or like I got to make all these decisions at one time. So we have usually 5 or 6 architectural meetings, 7 or 8 interior design meetings, and then a handful of walkthroughs on site. That's a joint team effort. Going back to one of the questions you asked, do we restrict the clients? No, we don't. We're not hiding anything from the clients.
Right.
Sometimes there's points in the process that are unsafe,
Right.
so we'll make sure that
Nobody's there.
there.
Yeah.
Open holes, or boards with nails sticking up and things like that. So we proceed with caution.
Sure.
But we do what we call Friday follow-ups. Every Friday, the client gets an email from the project manager,
Yeah.
or a phone call, or both, with photos of current progress, what happened this last week, and what we're expecting to happen the next week.
Yeah.
So we keep them in the loop. Also, there's a number of dedicated walkthroughs that we have, that we're going to go through the framing walk,
Yeah.
electrical walk, pre-drywall walk, trim walk, tile walk, etc. So they're getting a chance for us to spend a few hours with the design team, the construction team, the family, and we'll walk through everything. This is what we had designed. This is what we're looking at.
Yeah.
This is the actual tile before we install it. Look at it. Does it feel good?
Right.
This is what you're expecting. The tile installer might have a recommendation. Hey, if we flip it this way versus that way, it might look better because of X, Y, and Z.
Sure.
Make some decision. Not a lot of those, but
Right.
so the clients feel they're always in the know. That's an important part of what we do. It's a very collaborative approach.
Yeah.
For most of our clients, they like that, and they want to be that. Now, some we've built, I've mentioned in the past, that
Yeah.
they didn't
Hands-on.
live here.
Yeah.
They lived out of state, and that's okay too. We can work through that process, everything virtually via
Yeah.
Zoom. That's where the renderings and the technology helps a lot too, right? Video conferencing. It would have been way harder to build a home for somebody 20 years ago.
Right. Who's not
They'd
local.
have to fly. I mean, how do you even
Yeah.
show them anything, or right? So now
Mail them a hand-drawn sketch.
yeah, you literally
Snail
have to mail them
Yeah.
blueprints and mail them samples, and it would take a long time. This new technology has afforded us the opportunity to build for people outside of Michigan that want to
Right.
be in Michigan.
And I think also, goes back to kind of the brand and trust, right? These people obviously trust that they don't need to be there, should their circumstances require it. They feel that they're in good hands, and they trust you guys to do it. And that, that says something about the brand and the company. There's a newer player in the game, AI. And, a lot of it is on the back end where people are improving processes. Where it's hit and miss, I think, is on the visual side. So me as a designer, I see a lot of what I call AI slop. Has it been a problem, like with inspiration, where people are trying to manipulate things or presenting things that are like either unrealistic, or it's just giving you some garbage? Or do you think it's more of an asset?
This is like so new,
Right.
but very relevant right now. All of a sudden, literally this year, I feel like we're getting clients designing blueprints on ChatGPT,
Yeah.
and then an architectural style, and saying, I want you to build this. Well, none of it actually makes sense. There's no staircase. And
Right.
the plan doesn't match the elevation and things like that. I'll say, for the most part, it's a useful tool.
Yeah.
It can generate inspiration photos, or or renderings or things of the sort quickly,
Sure.
and provide some ideas that maybe you wouldn't have thought of, or help the client articulate what they want to say, because they
Right.
don't understand architectural styles
Sure.
necessarily. But if they can say it in normal language to chat, it can generate some renderings, and they say, I like this style.
Yeah, this
That's
feel.
very helpful,
Yeah.
because otherwise I'm trying to get it out of them. What style do you like? I don't know. Show me some pictures. We show them. I don't know. Yeah, I kind of like that. I don't like that.
Right.
So that it's a tool.
Yeah.
It's a tool, just like a hammer, right?
Right.
It can a hammer solve every construction problem? No, it can't. But it's a
No.
very useful tool.
Yeah.
We do use it a lot. Right now, we're using it from internal documentation preparation, or
Right.
emails, or doing research. It's helpful with that, and we're using it as a visualization tool as well,
Yeah.
especially for like quick quick and dirty. Sometimes
Right.
is very helpful. In the past, we would have had to send it out to a third party. It would take
Yeah.
a week or two. We get it back. It's not exactly what they wanted. They want to make this adjustment. That another week goes by, versus that could all be done in one session,
Right.
right? So, yeah. And I'm a big fan of it, actually, and I think it's only going to continue to get better and better. Um, so I'm not afraid of it.
Yeah.
I think I don't want the clients to be afraid of it. Well, obviously, it's my role as the architect to make sure it's what they're talking about is realistic. I have
Sure.
to educate and say, what you're showing me is beautiful, but this is a $10 million home. We have a
Right.
$3 million budget. It's not that different when people would bring us inspirations from Instagram photos
Or a
of $30
Pinterest.
million
Yeah.
homes in California and say, I love these features. I'm like, I love these too,
Yeah.
but we can try to
It
use it as
it
inspiration.
does a good job of getting you in the ballpark
Yeah,
of like
exactly.
feel. Like we've used it, right? Like we have our style studies, the
Yeah.
different tools to kind of help a client articulate what they want, not necessarily generate like documents or anything. So, but I want to end this episode on this note. So, I think I agree with you. And like in the last year, it's become a lot more prominent because I think it's become a lot more accessible.
Yeah.
It's been around for a minute, right? But now everybody's using it. But you kind of went from, blueprints to rendering to like, so you see how fast the technology is accelerating. Where do you wish it goes from here? What do you wish it does going forward?
It would be super helpful in a lot of ways. One would be like when we create a set of blueprints, to if we can feed it into AI and say, check it.
Yeah,
Are there any mistakes? Is there any value opportunities?
sure.
Is there any areas where we could be more efficient? Or is there anything we're missing from a code perspective, right?
Right.
It would be fantastic if we didn't have to deal with the people at municipalities anymore.
Municipalities.
And you
Yeah.
could just submit your plans, and the AI would review it and say, change this, that, and that, and you get your approval.
Right.
Wow.
Yeah.
Instead of a 30-day or 90-day process, it's a 30-second
30-second
process. Imagine
process.
that.
Yeah.
If I could pick anything right now, that would probably be it. But helping streamline creating the renderings, generating the 3D models. I mean, all that's time being spent right now that
Yeah.
it could create a lot of efficiencies. I do think AI will change the workforce environment.
Sure.
Is it going to replace everybody? I don't think so, especially in the construction world.
Right.
Very hard. I mean, can robots do all these things one day? Maybe.
Yeah.
I don't know if we're there quite yet.
No.
But you know, from you still need experts,
For
right?
sure.
You need experts in your field. You need experts in your locale,
Right.
right? A home built in Michigan is different than in Texas
Yes.
or Utah, right? So
Right.
you need experts. You need people. I still believe the human connection is extremely important.
Agreed.
Even as a designer, as a builder, as a project manager, whatever you may need. But I do think what we're doing day to day may change.
Right. Yeah. Like I was telling somebody, like everyone's like, "Oh, is AI going to replace humans?" I don't think so. I think it would replace humans that resist or don't use it. But you know, it can give you the right answer. We talk about this, the black and white answer, but it doesn't have emotion, right? It can't break the rules on purpose because it's emotionally significant. And I think that's where you said you have the expert. It's a great source of pooling data, and you still need the experts to execute on that data. Um, yeah, but I'm excited for it too, on the back end and the front end. So